There are approximately 6,000 container ships moving cargo across the world's oceans right now. The entire global grocery supply chain depends on them moving on schedule. In 2021, a single container ship ran aground in the Suez Canal for 6 days. That 6-day blockage disrupted an estimated $9 billion of cargo per day and sent ripple effects through global supply chains that took months to fully absorb. In 2023, a drought in Panama reduced daily ship transits through the Panama Canal from 38 to 18. Everything that normally moves through that canal, every container of food, every shipment of raw ingredients, had to reroute around South America or wait for 6 months. In 2024, Houthi attacks in the Red Sea forced container ships to reroute away from the Suez Canal entirely, adding 10 to 14 days and significant fuel costs to every shipment on that route. None of these events were predicted with meaningful lead time. All of them changed what appeared on grocery shelves, and at what price in the weeks and months that followed. The grocery items most exposed to shipping disruptions are not the ones that come from warehouses 2 states over. They are the ones that cross oceans. 10 items. All of them heavily dependent on global ocean shipping. All of them worth having on your shelf before the next disruption makes that more complicated than it currently is. I want to be specific. I am not talking about clearing shelves or extreme quantities. I am talking about building a 3 to 6 month rotating reserve of items you already use before their supply is disrupted. Every item on this list is something most households already buy. The only change is buying slightly more of it than usual before the window where doing so is straightforward closes. Number 10. Soy sauce and fermented Asian condiments. Soy sauce, fish sauce, oyster sauce, and the broader category of fermented condiments from Asia represent a flavor layer that is almost impossible to replicate from domestically produced alternatives. The umami depth that these products provide to cooking, the specific fermented character that comes from months or years of controlled microbial activity, is not something a domestic substitute can match. The production of these items is concentrated in Japan, South Korea, China, Vietnam, and Thailand. All of it moves by container ship across the Pacific. When Pacific shipping is disrupted, whether by port congestion, weather events, or geopolitical friction affecting transit routes, these products are among the first to show shelf gaps and price increases because their supply pipelines are long. Their production is concentrated in a small number of countries, and their domestic alternatives are negligible. Soy sauce sealed holds quality indefinitely. Fish sauce and oyster sauce hold 2 to 3 years sealed. The cost of building a 3 to 6 month reserve is minimal. 2 or 3 extra bottles per variety, rotated into regular cooking. This is one of the lowest cost, highest utility additions to any reserve specifically because shipping disruption is the primary risk and the product handles storage easily.
Number 9. Pure vanilla extract in large bottles. Madagascar supplies approximately 80% of the world's vanilla. That vanilla travels from the Indian Ocean island by container ship to processing facilities and then onward to consumer markets, primarily in North America and Europe. The supply chain is long, geographically concentrated, and involves multiple ocean crossings. The vulnerability is compounded by the production timeline. Vanilla orchids must be hand-pollinated within 12 hours of flowering. The bean takes 9 months to develop. Curing adds 3 to 6 months more. When shipping disruption combines with this production delay, the effect on retail availability is magnified well beyond what most single-source agricultural products experience. Pure vanilla extract in 4-ounce and larger bottles holds quality for 4 to 5 years in a cool dark location. The large bottles that represent actual cost efficiency have already shown significant price increases due to the production pressures affecting Madagascar. The shipping vulnerability adds a second layer of exposure. Vanilla is not a survival food and it does not solve a caloric gap. What it does is maintain the palatability of baked goods, sauces, and morning preparations in a way that nothing else replicates. In an extended period of supply uncertainty, that palatability function has a real and measurable effect on household morale.
Number 8. Full-fat canned coconut milk in bulk. The Philippines, Indonesia, and Thailand together supply the majority of the world's coconut milk. All of it moves by container ship across the Pacific. The transit time from production to American port averages 3 to 4 weeks under normal conditions. When Pacific shipping is congested or rerouted, that transit time extends and the pipeline of product in transit does not replenish shelves at the same rate it depletes them. Full-fat canned coconut milk has a shelf life of 5 years from production, exceeding most canned goods categories. At under $2 per can at Asian grocery stores and retailers that carry the full-case format, it is one of the lowest-cost fat-dense shelf-stable foods available. A single can contains approximately 50 grams of fat, predominantly medium-chain triglycerides that convert to usable energy more efficiently than long-chain fats. In a food supply built around low-fat carbohydrate staples, that fat density addresses a real nutritional gap in a compact and affordable format. Buying coconut milk at Asian grocery stores provides two advantages. The price is typically 30 to 40% lower for identical products. And Asian grocery stores experience dramatically less pressure during supply disruptions because these products do not appear on most people's instinctive stockpiling lists.
Number 7. Black pepper and cardamom in bulk. Vietnam produces approximately 35% of the world's black pepper. India produces the majority of the world's cardamom. Both products travel by container ship through Indian Ocean shipping lanes, a route that has been directly affected by the Red Sea disruptions that began in late 2023 and have continued to reroute shipping traffic around the Cape of Good Hope, adding 10 to 14 days and significant fuel cost to every voyage. When Indian Ocean shipping is disrupted, products from Vietnam, India, and Sri Lanka become more expensive and less consistently available simultaneously. Bulk format, 1-pound bags and above, provides meaningful cost efficiency. Ground black pepper holds potency for 2 to 3 years in airtight storage. Whole peppercorns hold for 4 to 5 years. These are not emergency foods in the caloric sense. They are the flavor layer that makes a diet built on staples sustainable over time. A household with bulk rice, beans, and lentils but no black pepper has calories. A household with bulk rice, beans, lentils, and a reserve of black pepper has meals. That distinction is not minor when measured across weeks and months.
Number 6. Jasmine and basmati rice in 50-pound bags. The domestic rice production of the United States does not include jasmine or basmati in any meaningful quantity. Both varieties are almost entirely imported. Jasmine from Thailand and Vietnam. Basmati from India and Pakistan. All of it moves by container ship. In 2023, India's sudden ban on non-basmati rice exports demonstrated exactly how quickly the supply picture for imported rice can shift. The announcement came with almost no lead time. Global rice prices moved 30 to 40% within weeks. That specific ban has since been partially modified, but the event established something important. The supply of imported rice varieties is subject to regulatory disruption that can arrive without warning and affect prices before most households have any opportunity to respond. The 50-pound bag format offers per-pound prices 40 to 60% lower than retail bags. Jasmine and basmati rice stored in sealed buckets with oxygen absorbers hold quality for 10 to 25 years. Buy them before the motivation is urgency rather than planning. If this is changing how you think about your next grocery run, a like helps other people find it. Only if it has earned one.
Number 5. Canned tuna and canned salmon. The majority of canned tuna sold in the United States is packed in Thailand, the Philippines, Ecuador, and other producing countries before being shipped to American markets. The fish is caught in international waters, processed at facilities in those countries, canned, and then shipped by container to North American ports. The supply chain for canned tuna crosses multiple oceans before the product reaches a grocery shelf. Canned salmon follows a similar pattern, with much of it processed in Alaska but a significant portion sourced from Pacific salmon fisheries and processed in Asia before return shipping to the United States. When Pacific shipping is disrupted, the container-dependent portions of both supply chains are affected. Both provide complete protein with all 9 essential amino acids and omega-3 fatty acids. Shelf life runs 3 to 5 years. A case of 24 cans of tuna costs approximately $25 to $35 and provides 24 servings of complete protein. That density of nutrition and cost per serving is almost impossible to match with any other shelf-stable animal protein. By cases rather than individual cans. Look at the first 5 items. Fermented condiments, vanilla, coconut milk, spices, rice, canned seafood. None of them are produced domestically at a scale that insulates American consumers from what happens on the world's shipping lanes. Every one of them depends on container ships arriving on schedule. And container ships do not always arrive on schedule. The next 5 items carry the same exposure, and in several cases the supply chain vulnerability is more acute. Pay close attention to the last 3.
Number 4. Dark chocolate and high-percentage cocoa products. West Africa supplies approximately 65% of the world's cocoa. Ghana and Ivory Coast are the dominant producers. Cocoa beans travel by ship from West African ports across the Atlantic to processing facilities in Europe and North America. The Atlantic shipping lanes have been among the most stable in global commerce, but the Red Sea rerouting that has pushed more cargo around the Cape of Good Hope has increased congestion and cost across Atlantic routes as well, as shipping lines restructure their global networks. The supply of cocoa itself, independent of shipping, is already severely stressed. The 2023 to 2024 season produced the worst global cocoa deficit in over 60 years. Futures prices reached historic highs. The combination of a structurally constrained supply and a shipping network under pressure creates a double exposure that makes cocoa products among the most vulnerable items in the grocery category. Bulk cocoa powder sealed holds quality for 2 to 3 years. High-percentage dark chocolate in baking bar format holds for 1 to 2 years in a cool location. These are the morale layer that makes an extended period of restricted variety tolerable. The psychological function of chocolate in a household under stress is well documented in research on sustained food restriction. Build a reserve while the bulk format is still accessible at current prices.
Number 3. Coffee. There is no meaningful domestic production of coffee in the continental United States. Every bag of coffee on every grocery shelf in every state that is not Hawaii or California's small specialty growing regions arrived on a container ship. The coffee was grown in Colombia, Brazil, Ethiopia, Vietnam, Honduras, Guatemala, or one of the other equatorial producing countries, processed and bagged, loaded into a container, and shipped to an American port before eventually reaching a store. When global shipping is disrupted, coffee is among the most exposed grocery categories because it has zero domestic production backup. The supply chains are among the longest in global food commerce, and demand for coffee is deeply habitual in a way that makes any disruption acutely felt. Coffee prices have already risen significantly over the past 2 years due to drought conditions in Brazil, Vietnam, and other key producing regions. A shipping disruption on top of already stressed agricultural supply creates a compounding exposure. Green coffee beans sealed in airtight containers hold quality for 6 to 12 months. Roasted whole beans in sealed valve bags hold quality for 6 to 9 months. Ground coffee, once opened, degrades significantly within 2 to 4 weeks. The practical reserve strategy is whole beans in sealed containers, rotated consistently. Build a reserve of at least 3 months of consumption. Coffee is the item on this list that most households will feel most immediately if supply disruption affects availability.
Number 2. Olive oil in large format tins. Spain is the world's largest olive oil producer. Italy is the second. Together they supply the majority of the world's olive oil. All of it moves by ship across the Atlantic to North American markets. The transit and supply chain for European olive oil is one of the more reliable in global food commerce under normal conditions. These are not normal conditions. Spanish olive oil production was cut by approximately 50% in 2023 due to a historic drought and heat event across the Iberian Peninsula. Italian production fell similarly. Retail prices in global markets doubled and then continued rising. A 3-liter tin that retailed for $18 to $20 2 years ago now commonly retails at $40 to $50. The production conditions that caused this price movement have not fully recovered, and the trees that were stressed by the 2022 to 2023 drought will not return to full production for 2 to 4 additional years. If a significant Atlantic shipping disruption occurs while Mediterranean production is still recovering, the combination affects both volume and cost simultaneously. Olive oil sealed in tins holds quality for 18 to 24 months. Buy the 3-liter or 5-liter tins rather than individual bottles. This is the item where the production story and the shipping story are both already moving in the wrong direction at the same time.
Number 1. Cooking oils in large format: sunflower, palm, and coconut. The global cooking oil supply chain is the most complex and geographically distributed on this entire list, which is exactly why it belongs at number 1. There is no single point of failure. There are multiple simultaneous vulnerabilities operating across different parts of the world at the same time. Ukraine has historically supplied approximately 50% of the world's sunflower oil exports. The ongoing conflict has severely disrupted that supply, and there is no near-term scenario in which Ukrainian sunflower oil returns to pre-conflict export volumes. The gap has been partially absorbed by other producers, but at elevated prices that have not returned to pre-2022 levels and show no clear trajectory toward doing so. Palm oil comes primarily from Indonesia and Malaysia, traveling by ship through the Strait of Malacca, one of the world's most strategically significant shipping choke points. Any disruption to traffic through the strait, whether from geopolitical tension, severe weather, or infrastructure failure, affects palm oil supply directly. Coconut oil, also from the Philippines and Indonesia, moves through the same channels and carries the same shipping exposure. When multiple cooking oil supply chains are simultaneously stressed, the effect compounds because retailers and food manufacturers begin competing for whatever alternative supply exists, driving prices across all oil categories higher simultaneously. A 1-gallon jug of vegetable oil contains approximately 30,000 calories. At current retail prices, it represents the lowest cost per calorie shelf-stable food product available. Cooking oil is one of the most nutritionally critical items in a reserve because fat is required for the absorption of vitamins A, D, E, and K, none of which function without dietary fat present. Keep 2 to 4 gallons stored in a cool, dark location. Replace the oldest jug every 2 to 3 months. That rotation maintains a real buffer against both price spikes and availability gaps with almost no active effort.
Number 1. Cooking oils in large format: sunflower, palm, and coconut. The global cooking oil supply chain is the most complex and geographically distributed on this entire list, which is exactly why it belongs at number 1. There is no single point of failure. There are multiple simultaneous vulnerabilities operating across different parts of the world at the same time. Ukraine has historically supplied approximately 50% of the world's sunflower oil exports. The ongoing conflict has severely disrupted that supply, and there is no near-term scenario in which Ukrainian sunflower oil returns to pre-conflict export volumes. The gap has been partially absorbed by other producers, but at elevated prices that have not returned to pre-2022 levels and show no clear trajectory toward doing so. Palm oil comes primarily from Indonesia and Malaysia, traveling by ship through the Strait of Malacca, one of the world's most strategically significant shipping choke points. Any disruption to traffic through the strait, whether from geopolitical tension, severe weather, or infrastructure failure, affects palm oil supply directly. Coconut oil, also from the Philippines and Indonesia, moves through the same channels and carries the same shipping exposure. When multiple cooking oil supply chains are simultaneously stressed, the effect compounds because retailers and food manufacturers begin competing for whatever alternative supply exists, driving prices across all oil categories higher simultaneously. A 1-gallon jug of vegetable oil contains approximately 30,000 calories. At current retail prices, it represents the lowest cost per calorie shelf-stable food product available. Cooking oil is one of the most nutritionally critical items in a reserve because fat is required for the absorption of vitamins A, D, E, and K, none of which function without dietary fat present. Keep 2 to 4 gallons stored in a cool, dark location. Replace the oldest jug every 2 to 3 months. That rotation maintains a real buffer against both price spikes and availability gaps with almost no active effort.
Here's what building this reserve actually looks like. On your next 3 grocery runs, add 2 items from this list to your cart. Choose the largest format that is practical for your storage space. Soy sauce in the biggest bottle available. Coconut milk by the case. coffee by the largest sealed bag. Olive oil in the tin rather than the bottle. Done across 3 trips at a normal grocery budget, the additional cost is minimal and the coverage you build is real. The households in the best position after the next shipping disruption are not the ones who ran to the store when the news broke. They are the ones who bought slightly more than they needed, slightly earlier than necessary, on an ordinary Tuesday when everything still looked fine.
Which item on this list is not in your kitchen right now? Write it in the comments. Not for me. Writing a specific intention down measurably increases the probability of following through. That comment is for you. I read every single one. Next video. The shipping crisis is one kind of supply disruption. There is another kind, slower and harder to see, already underway in the domestic supply chain. What that looks like and which items are most affected. Subscribe if you do not want to miss it. One video a week. No more than that.